Hi there, Laurie Williams here with the Alcohol Ink Art Community, and today we're going to use one of the new Laurie Trumpet simple screens and the Whimsical tree, and we're going to create we're going to do alcohol ink on TerraSlate. TerraSlate is a new, relatively new synthetic paper that would work similar to some of the other substrates that you see out there. It has a nice smooth finish, and it is formulated to work well with alcohol ink, so we're going to be demonstrating on that today. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is pour myself a nice background that I can put this on, and I will probably position my tree here. I'll end up cropping it. It looks like I can maybe trim this down a little bit, and I think I'll do that. So I'm going to pull out my little trimmer, and I'm going to cut this in half, and I'll make two, so I can use these for cards or a small frame. So this 8.5 inches wide, so I want to go 4 1/4 if I want to half it exactly. So 4 1/4 here. There we go. So now we're ready to get started. Now I'm going to paint two backgrounds, and I pull out a couple of colors. I have honeycomb, and let's see, how about a little bit of moss and sunshine yellow. Let's use those three colors. Remember, I want to have a lighter background because I want the foreground's going to be a silhouette, and it's going to be black in color. So I'm just dropping some ink on, starting with the sunshine yellow at the top. Next, I'm using honeycomb. And moss. These are Ranger ink colors. You could use any brand of alcohol ink that you'd like. Okay, I'm putting a little bit of isopropyl alcohol into a small dish. And using a pipette, I'm just going to drop a few drops here so I can get the ink moving on my paper. Run along the edge. On this one I want to do a fluid background, or a very smooth fluid background, and so the way I do that is to drop the isopropyl alcohol and let it flow. And then it'll drain off the edge, and that's okay. I kind of keep it tipped to the edge. I work on paper towel. And then I'm going to take this here, go back over the side. I am going to take a brush now with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and all I'm doing is just covering up any white areas that didn't naturally get covered already. And you can keep working the ink with the brush while it's still wet. The alcohol ink dries quickly, so you only have a small period of time in which to work with it. So I'm going to set this aside and let it dry a little bit, and I'm going to work on the other one. I'm going to do a little bit different color scheme on the next one. On this one I'm going to do a Fiesta and sunshine yellow, and then I'll put a little bit of mojito at the bottom. So these colors are not as muted, they're more of a bright alcohol ink, and I just put a few drops down, and I'm just going to bring it down and blend it down. So I'm going to just give it the use the brush to manipulate this one. I'm dipping in the alcohol a little bit, so it'll be a little lighter as I go down. Now what's going to happen when I put the sunshine yellow on, I'm going to put it right in here. There, I put a little sunshine yellow, and I'm going to blend it up into the Fiesta. So we'll get a little bit of red in there. There we go. And I bring that down. I'm going to use this to blend. And I'm going to bring this yellow down pretty far to towards the bottom on this one. Now I'm going to grab my Mojito, and this is a bright green. I'm going to put it at the bottom. Just a few drops. And I'm going to use my brush in the same alcohol. Cover the bottom part and blend up. Again, I'm working on TerraSlate, which is a synthetic paper. It works great with alcohol ink. It's used in a lot of packaging materials, such as menus and those sorts of things. Menus, books, packaging, and it happens to work really well with the alcohol as well. Great. Sort of loving this, and just want to show you real quick, the TerraSlate will lift right back to white. So if you need to lift back to white or erase what you did, all you've got to do is take the alcohol on your brush and just lift. And you can see, I don't know if you can see in that area right there, but it's lifted to white, but I'm going to fill that back in. You know what? With the alcohol inks, things kind of present themselves, and this is something that's presenting itself right here. It's like a little lake. Look at that. It just happened naturally. So you know what? I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to lift out what's there, and I am going to, let's see, smooth that out a little bit over here. I'm going to put in a little bit of blue for that. I'm going to use Sailboat Blue. Sailboat Blue is another Ranger color. And I'm just going to put one little drop there. And then I'm going to control that with my brush. So. And it's going to flow and kind of do its own thing a little bit too. So I'm going to let that happen and work with it while it's still wet. And I'm going to let that sit for a second. Meanwhile, we're going to go back over here to this first one. This was like a really dreamy looking landscape, and remember, I'm going to be doing my screen on top. The other thing that I'm probably going to want to do with this one is in the sky. I want to add some texture. So I'm going to come in. Actually, you know what I'm going to do to create the texture real quick? I'm going to come in and I'm going to cover the bottom where this is here because I don't want it to show up there. I'm going to come right in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little spritzer. So this is a mini mister. It is a Ranger product. And I have some alcohol in it. And all I do is I'm going to hold it back about, I'm going to get this other one out of the way. I'm going to hold it back about 10 inches or so and just give it a little squirt. And this will put some natural light texture in the background. It reactivates the alcohol ink that's down on the paper. And you start to see these little bubbles form. If you sit here for a second, they start to appear like you don't realize that they're still there. But if you spray again, there we go. So now you see a few more. I like that. It just gives some interesting things going on in the background for us. Okay, so now I'm set up and ready to work with my screen. So this is a print screen. It is from my line, Laurie Trumpet, which is available at AE Glass. I'll include a link to where you can go and see all the different designs. We have a lot of designs there, and we have a lot more coming real soon. But this is one of the designs that we released in the Silhouette collection in August. It works really pretty on top of the alcohol ink. So the way the screen works is you have to use on top of a background. So you have an alcohol ink background. Then you want to use a heavy body acrylic. I'm using Liquitex Basics, Mars Black. It works great for silhouettes, and it works great with these screens. So these screens, what essentially we're going to do is we're going to secure it down, and then we're going to push the acrylic paint through the screen. So this is not a stencil, or not a regular stencil. It is a screen. It has mesh inside, and you have to push the paint through the mesh. Alcohol ink will not go through the mesh. It will not work. It will leave nothing behind it. Trust me, I've tried that just for fun and laughs and giggles. The best thing to use is the heavy body acrylic paint. Then you need a squeegee or something rigid and hard that you can push it through. And you want to also keep next to you, I keep a little pan of warm water, and that's to help me care for my screen. So I can use this, I've already used this screen a number of times, and I can continue to use the screen if I take care of it. And so that water helps me allow it to not dry. So we don't want the acrylic to dry on the screen. We also don't want that alcohol. You don't want to use isopropyl alcohol directly on the screen. You don't want to use alcohol ink. You will destroy your screen. And we want to be able to use these for multiple projects. So we want to hold on to these and take good care of them. So I'm going to set this aside real quick, because what I need to do is I need to secure these onto some sort of board, something rigid, because I'm going to need to tape down the screen so that it doesn't move. And I'll show you what I do. Okay, so I just have an old piece of canvas. It's actually a pretty good piece of canvas, but this is what I've been using, and it works great. So what I do is I take my pieces and I secure them down. Maybe I'll work on the back side of it, so in case I decide to do a project in front. It's just an artist loft board. And so what I'm going to do is take a piece of the blue painter's tape, and this is really what you want to use, because you can reposition it, you can remove it without destroying your art. And so I'm taping the back of this TerraSlate with it to secure it down to the board so that it does not move, because movement will give you an unclear image. So you want to try to make sure that you keep your image exactly still. So I'm going to start from the left and work over to the right, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one, then I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to put it on this other one. So for this first one, what I do is I place it down. So the first time you use your screen during a session, you can see through it. So you can sort of see where the image is going to appear underneath. Once we get the acrylic on it, you won't be able to see it, so you're just kind of guessing. So what I would do ahead of time is I kind of want to look and see where I want it to show up, and I'm thinking right in here. And so what I'm going to do is just take a pen and just make a little mark down here on the edge, just so I get it roughly lined up, so I know about where I want it positioned. So that just kind of gives me a guide before I get started. So I'm going to take this and position it, and I'm looking at my little lake through there. I can see very good, and I want the tree to go over and into the lake. I think that's kind of neat. Okay, so right about there, I'm going to position it with my tape. I get excited about this part. It's a lot of fun, and just to see what happens. And I tape that down just gently with my blue painter's tape again, and I have my container. Now I also use, you need a palette or something to put your acrylic paint on it. So I usually use a paper plate that I can reuse again and again if I need to. So I am going to, as you can see, I've used this one already. I'm going to put down some of my paint. You don't need a whole lot, but you do need enough on the edge of this to push it through. So I'm going to load up my squeegee, see, just like that. I'll set my plate aside. And so holding this, I want to start at the top, and I want to, at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to swipe down. And you can see it goes all the way through the screen. And this part right here needs a little bit more. So I I'm gonna put it down here. I'm trying not to get over on this piece either because I don't want to contaminate. I can go sideways if I'd like, and then come back down to make sure I got complete coverage. Yes. Okay, that looks like it took, so I can see barely through there where the screen is and everything. And next I will lift it up. So I'm going to set my squeegee aside and we're going to reveal it. So, oh, look how gorgeous that is. All right, so now we know that I put a mark here. I can know about where I want this to show up. I'm going to line that up. Just move it right over here. And put it down. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. And I am going to load up my squeegee real good with the acrylic paint so you can see them. And I'm going to start at the top at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to just wipe down. Now, because this is the second pass with this screen, I can't see really where it is exactly. So I'm going to just go over it a couple of times just to be sure that I've got the whole thing covered. And I will go in 2 directions. So that's one. And then I'm going to go this way. And then you can go back up like that. All right, so I think that should do it. Yes, beautiful. So love how this turned out, and this actually came off the edge, which kind of adds some interest as well. Now then when I'm done, I just remove the tape very gently and try not to get my hands, because you don't want this acrylic to dry on your screen. You just dip it over in your water and give it a little shake, and then you can wash it off there, or you can take it to a sink and run warm water and gently wipe it off. But here are the 2 pieces that we got from this, and this is really, really cool. You could come back in now if you wanted to after the acrylic dried and add more detail. Like a lot of times I like to take a micron pen and add some interest, like tree strokes like this, you know, some grass strokes, I mean, just to give it a little bit more. Look at that. You can come in and add more. You could put trees in the background, all sorts of things you could do to add on top of it. But you got your screen there, your screened tree there, and it looks great. You could add little dots for leaves. There's just so much you can do with it, but this gives you that base, and you can use it over and over and over again. So, you know, when I talk to artists about selling their art online, because we do that a lot in Art Bugle, we talk about being able to produce once and sell many. Well, this is a way you can produce multiple originals in a short period of time. So you could create yourself a whole line of backgrounds and then come in with the screens and create multiple artworks. I will say that, and I didn't mention this, but with the screen, you can use it 3 to 4 times before you need to wash it and let it dry. So then when you wash it and let it dry, you can come back and reuse again. So you can plan 3 or 4 pieces with one screen at a time. The other option too is you can get multiple screens and have things lined up and do everything at once as well. But anyway, it's a fun project. It's easy to do, and it creates some wonderful looking art. Thanks for watching this presentation today. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe, as we will be posting a lot more of these fun demos on a regular basis. And also join the Alcohol Ink Art community if you haven't already. And we also have the Alcohol Ink Art Society for people who are really into alcohol inks and really want to learn all there is to learn. There's a ton of resources available, and it's a lifetime membership. So you join once and then you're a lifetime member and you're in the club. And so we have a whole inner circle of alcohol ink artists in there. So we hope you can join us there as well. I'll put links to everything below, but peace. Have a great day.
Come learn, create, and share with us. It's a life-changing opportunity. Excite the artist within.